just look at some of the top relationship books that I've these are all books that I've bought, but I've also recommended these to clients. I've used some of these with my clients when I've looked at some of the exercises within the books. And you can also check out, I think it was 2023 probably, where I did a whole year of book reviews. So I read a book a week and I did a review. And so a lot of these books, in fact, I think majority of these books will be on there. So you'll get a full book review, which was just giving my opinion of the book. I gave it marks out of 10. So if you want more information, but there's loads of book reviews online. The good thing about when books are recommended these days is that you can either go on YouTube and you'll normally see loads of book reviews. Sometimes you can get the free audiobook, and then you can also go on Amazon and sometimes read a chapter. Some of them let you read a free chapter, and then that just means it gives you the opportunity really to decide whether you want to buy the book or not. So I'm not going to go through them all in depth in the same way as I would do a book review, but I just want to give a few, maybe a few of the concepts or a few the main parts of the book, which why I found them interesting. I've got all of these. These are not all of the books, relationship books I've got, but I just went through the main ones that I recommend. So attached. So this book is, there is definitely lots of reviews you can find online about this book. So it's about your attachment style. So it just says, are you anxious, avoidant or secure? How the science of adult attachment can help you find and keep love. So it talks about the different attachment styles. It's not too lengthy actually, this book as well. I like the fact that it's really easy to read. It gives examples of, so I've just taken, it gives you some indicators of dating someone who's avoidant. So someone with an avoidant attachment style, they will probably send mixed messages about their feelings towards you. They long for an ideal relationship, but they keep giving you subtle hints that it will not be with you. They desperately want to meet the one, but somehow they always find fault in the other person or in the circumstances, and that makes commitment impossible. So if you're dating someone who's been in loads of relationships, and they don't last that long, it may be because they are seeking like a long-term attachment, but they've got an avoidant attachment style, so they always find little faults or little reasons why it doesn't work out. Also, someone with an avoidant attachment style, they suggest that you are too needy or sensitive or overreacting to things, and that just means they're invalidating your feelings and making you second guess yourself. They also ignore things that you say that inconvenience them. They don't respond or they change the topic, and your messages don't get across despite your best efforts to communicate. So the book really, hi Food Mohammed, I'm talking about different relationship books. So I've got some books here and I'm just sort of mentioning a few relationship books. So yeah, that's attached, and I would recommend that to anyone if you are struggling with understanding your attachment style. If you're in a relationship where both of you have got opposing attachment styles and it's just not working out, you're getting into the same like arguments or patterns, this is a good book really because it's easy to read, but it gives really good examples in there of different couples, their attachment styles, and how you can then like resolve it really. So another book which I've recommended to lots of people and which I find is really a really interesting book. It's a bit, some of the chapters are a bit more complicated than they need to be. It's called No More Fighting, Fast Strategies to Stop Fights and Foster Connection in Your Relationship. So it says all couples fight, but did you know that there are simple ways to tackle the issues that trigger fights? No More Fighting offers couples fast and effective strategies to overcome common relationship problems. Some of it, right, what I like about it is it's got chapters like, appreciation and gratitude. There's a section on intimacy. There's a section on exploring your values, honest, radical honesty. Now, if people don't know what that is, that just means where you are, I would call it not brutally honest, but where you are completely honest with your partner no matter what. So even if that means it might hurt them, even if that means that, it's what you want to say is possibly it's the wrong timing or it could be conflictual, cause conflict. It's saying that I don't necessarily believe in this whole idea of radical honesty because I just think it's probably a bit similar to like brutal honesty because I don't know, I'm torn, because I get the idea of being completely open and just being like, really say what you think. But then I also think there's times where it's not about that you don't be honest or that you lie, but I do think as well, your honesty or what you might think about the situation might not be right. So sometimes having that openness where you're having a discussion and then you say, you know, I'm wondering if this is the case, or this is what I'm feeling from my perspective, that's probably different than just saying, right, I don't think you do this, or I don't think that, because that might be your honesty, it might not be the actual honesty of the situation. There's something in here which I really like, which is called to-do love lists. So this says it helps couples to translate love into action. So in the same way we write things down on our to-do list, having a to-do love list means it's just maybe things like, right, well, we're going to go on dates. On my list is to make sure I appreciate my partner. On my list is to make sure this or that. So yeah, I like the idea of that. So it's a bit wordy. That's my word I would use. You can't see it, but there's, you know, I mean, I don't know how many chapters there is. I've not read all of this. I've not read the whole thing. There's 52 chapters. And I just think, yeah, there's things like identify your love language, erotic blueprints, understand sexual shame, resilient monogamy. I think it's good if you need to probably be one of those types of people that, one, you want to really get into your books and you really want to spend a lot of time. There's a lot of it that it could probably have been broken down a little bit differently. That's my opinion. It's still got good things in there about listening, feeling your feelings and stuff, but a lot of people might just be put off by the fact that, like, it's a bit wordy and it's a bit, I mean, it's got the little things at the end which gives you couples time container tips, so it gives you like little tips at the end and that sort of thing. But I think the book could have been shorter and it could have been less. There's probably stuff in there that didn't need to be in there. But yeah, it gets to the point, you know, it's about no more fighting, it's about how you can reduce arguments. So I have recommended it to people. I do know some of my clients have bought this. I know that they've found it useful. So yeah, that's why sort of I'm bringing it into this conversation. So a book that is at the other end, and I've made probably about 3 reviews of this book because I made a review years ago. You can find them all on this channel anyway. If you type in "Can we start again, please?" you'll find it. So this is a really small, look how thin that book is. So it's really small, really straight to the point. It's got, I've just made a few notes because there's so much in there. So I've recently actually just made a video called 5 Habits to Protect Your Love. And I'm sure that was what I uploaded probably Friday. That came from this book. So it gives you 5 habits to protect your love and 5 habits that could be sabotaging your love. So it goes through little things that you could be doing that are really gonna maybe end in meaning that you end up hi Zarova, yeah, I think that's how I pronounce your name. So yeah, this is a really good book because I think it's basically if someone is falling out of love or you're just getting into bad negative patterns. So it's 20 questions to fall back in love. So the questions include things like, what do you consider your greatest strength and your greatest weakness? What gives your life meaning? Now, I don't know necessarily if you would, for some people they're going to say, well, these are the types of questions you would ask on a first date, or these are a bit cheesy, or that sort of thing. And I think what's good is that he asks the questions and then he puts underneath the reason why you would ask that and what you would get from it. So it's saying, like, if you ask someone what's their greatest strength and their greatest weakness, it helps you to understand your partner, and then you can say, okay, you can build on that strength, but maybe someone isn't good at doing certain things or they see it as a weakness. You can then say, oh, that's given me more of an understanding. You might say, oh, I'll take on that role, or I'll do that thing instead. Or yeah, there's a reason for all of the questions, but I'm not saying every couple is going to want to sit down and ask some of these questions. You could probably make up your own. The point of it really is that you're identifying why you fell out of love. You're breaking the bad habits within your relationship. And it's just giving you some tips on things, you know, habits to protect your love, how to be more romantic. It also talks about the stages or the seasons that you go through in relationships. So the stages of love, which that's a good chapter on the stages of love. you know, from 6 to 18 months. I've used this, actually, the stages of love is something that I used with when I was doing couples counselling. We looked at the different stages that the couple was in, and even they could identify that, okay, in the first 6 months, this is how we were in the first year together, in the 18 months, now that we're together 3 years, and we sort of looked and we compared with like what it was saying here. And it's not saying every couple goes through the same thing, but it's saying that, you know, the majority of couples, you'll go through stages. It doesn't mean that anything is wrong with the relationship because you're having a rocky patch. It's trying to say that is usual, that's normal, that's common for couples. So, yeah, can we start again, please? 20 questions to fall back in love. So another book, which this is more for probably, I'd say, yeah, it's for not to say it's more for singles. The Rules, the dating do's and don'ts for the digital generation. So The Rules is a classic book from the 80s. This is an updated one because it's obviously talking about the digital generation, but it's a book really which is controversial because some people say that it's too old-fashioned and it teaches women to, you know, act in a particular way. I like it because I think you don't have to follow all of these rules. This one's called The New Rules, actually, the dating do's and don'ts for the digital generation. What I like about it is if someone is, you know, they've had maybe lots of relationships that haven't worked out, or if they're just getting into dating, you know, and they're worried or they're not sure or they don't feel confident, this is the type of book which could be helpful. I'm not saying that you just, every book that you read, same as with every counsellor, every bit of advice you get, you don't just take it on board. You have to resonate with it, you have to relate to it, and also you have to interpret it in your own way. So same with books, don't just read a book and then do exactly what it says. In some cases, yeah, if it's giving you advice on how to make money or how to do this, but you also need to read it yourself and see if it works for you. So I'm just going to give you a few of the things from this book. So it talks about this idea of not talking to or texting a guy first. It's saying, you know, men should pursue. It is a traditional book. It's not going to suit everyone because some people are going to say, no, I don't agree with that, and that's fine. But it's just saying the rules based on Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider. They have done lots of research. They know their stuff. So they're talking about this rule about not talking to a guy first. There's loads of rules. I'm not going to go through all of them. Don't talk too much in the first few weeks. So that's one that I agree with that. I mean, I even think on a first date, when you watch that program First Dates, it's hit or miss. There's some people on there that will open up and they'll say like really intense, really big stories. You know, they will share things with the person on the first date. Me personally, I wouldn't run away from someone if they shared something really significant with me, but I would also probably feel a bit like, oh, is this a bit too much because it's only our first date? I wouldn't personally share something like major, not to do with if I'd had an illness or if there'd been a significant event in the family or life. I don't think I would share that on a first date, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What they're trying to say is that take things slowly in the first week. You know, give little tidbits or hints about your family or about your life. All they're trying to say in a nutshell is to be more mysterious. And I do agree with that, because I think if someone's curious about you and you're leaving them with a bit more to think, oh, that date was good, I'd like to go on a second one to find out more, or oh, I'm in a relationship with this person and there's still things I need to know about them, or there's still things I want to understand. Or if someone surprises you, I think it's that element really. But there's nothing wrong as well with revealing a lot of things. That's how you get to know someone. So that's another rule. The other one is don't introduce a guy to anyone first. Don't invite him anywhere first, and don't meet his friends first. So that's, again, that is like individual choice. I do agree with the fact that just overall, like, men tend to want to pursue. That's not like every man, because men also like when women take the lead, or some men do. So I would prefer like the guy to say, right, I'm going to introduce you to my family, I'm going to introduce you to my friends first, and then to do it the other way around. But there's no, I mean, all they're saying, they're just saying it's that, you know, these days, things have changed, and they are taking that into account. They're saying now, you know, you can end up going to a family get together and meeting someone's partner's friends and family all at once and that sort of thing. But it's just saying that let him take the lead, I suppose, is what they're really saying. So this book is just saying the rules taught a generation of women. That was the first book, how to successfully play hard to get, and in the process helped millions of women get their Mr. Right. Some called it controversial, but it became a movement and helped improve the love lives of women across the world. That was all before texting, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, iPhones and online dating. So they're saying there's even more ways to mess up your dating life. That's not very positive, is it? But yeah, and it just says the rules girls are back with the dating Bible for the modern age. So yeah, it depends, you know, what you're into. I like this book. I liked the first one as well. I've got a few like books which would be considered as controversial, but I like hearing what they've got to say, and to me they're the experts in their field. I'm not going to go with everything they say or agree with it all, but I do think some of the rules are interesting. So that's that one. So there's a few more books left. I'm not going to spend too much time because how long have I been on this live stream? Yeah, I'm going to probably just a few more minutes with this. And anyone that watches on the replay, feel free to leave your comments, and everyone that's joining, thanks for joining. So this is one where I did a book review of as well. Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. So this is a really good book for people who are, if you're a couple and you're always getting misunderstanding, you know, you're always arguing and disagreeing because you just don't get each other, you don't get what the other person is saying, this book might be helpful, because what it's really saying is that how men think is very compartmentalized. So you know, when you have waffles with like little squares, men, if you want something doing, then you ask and then they'll do that. If you're talking about one thing, then they're going to stick to that topic. You know, they're going to be solution focused, that sort of thing. Whereas with women, I don't think this is completely true, but it is for the most part. Sometimes a woman might talk about lots of different things, and that's where they're going on about spaghetti, and it might all link together, but it might still be going round and round and round before they get to the point, but also intertwining lots of things together. So all it says is let your differences make you irresistible to each other. So while a man tends to deal with one problem or purpose at a time, moving from waffle square to waffle square, a woman's thoughts generally flow together like spaghetti noodles. Once you discover how your spouse processes feelings and thoughts, you're on your way to a happy and healthy relationship. So they're a couple. They're speakers, authors and relationship specialists who help people to become love wise. Together they've authored over 40 books. They've been happily married for 30 years. So they've got the pedigree. They've written the books. They've been married for 30 years. They they've got the experience, they know what they're talking about. So all it's really saying is that when we're communicating with each other as men and women, we need to take into account our communication style. Now, it might not be that all women, I mean, I don't particularly, I kind of get to the point sometimes, but then other times, yeah, I probably am like spaghetti. But I try as much as I can to kind of be more like, in my communication, I think I am probably more, I can be more masculine in the sense of if someone's, not as a counsellor, but in my personal life, I probably would go to someone if I wanted them to give me like a solution. I wouldn't necessarily just be talking to like vent or offload, because I'd feel like the person doesn't want to hear that, but also what's the point in offloading? It's not going to solve the problem. But I get that, like in the majority of cases, women are probably more emotionally led as well, and men might be more logical. There's a combination of both within all of us, because we've all got a little bit masculine, bit of feminine within us as people. So I thought this book was really good. And, again, it's one of those books where you're probably not going to read the whole thing. I don't think I read the whole thing. There's questions for married couples, so there's like a questionnaire in there. There's, what's this? His and her guide to ATMs. Oh, so it's really funny. So it gives the differences between men and women when it's coming to going to take money at the ATM. So the man pulls up to the ATM, insert card, enter PIN, take cash, drive away. See, that's me, so I'm probably more masculine then, because it says woman pulls up to the ATM, checks the makeup, shut off the engine, put keys in the handbag, get out of the car, hunt for the card in the handbag, insert card, hunt in the handbag for scrap of paper with PIN number, enter PIN, study instructions for 2 minutes, hit cancel, enter correct, this is a bit rude, enter correct PIN, check balance, accidentally hit cancel, locate the card again, insert card, hunt for PIN again, enter PIN, make withdrawal, get in the car, check makeup, look for keys, start car. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, obviously that it's written by a couple, so the woman must have seen her friends, or she must know people who do that. I wouldn't take that long. I think I'm like the man. I'll just come up to the ATM, insert the card, enter the PIN, take the cash, drive away. I don't be checking my makeup and things just to go to the ATM. But yeah, it's just, that's just one example of showing maybe how men and women operate differently in those situations. So yeah, it's not, you know, it's a good book. So similarly, this book is written by a couple as well, Alan and Barbara Pease. So it's called Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. So why men really can't do more than one thing at a time, why women make such a mess of reverse parallel parking, why men should never lie to a woman, why men love erotic images and women aren't impressed, why women prefer to talk things through, why men offer solutions but hate advice, and why men want sex and women need love. So there's some of the things in the book. But it really just means, what was really good about this book, I remember reading it, I've done the book recommendations, as I've said, you can find them on the book reviews, you can find them on this channel, is how it just made you think differently. And any book that I read which makes me look at things from a new perspective, I'm really happy with, because lots of books copy each other. You know, you'll hear information that's unoriginal. What it did is it talks about just how men's brains are completely different to women's brains. And just a good example was, it was talking about a map. So a man might be able to like read a map more easily, or do certain things just based on not intelligence levels, but just how their brain is wired. Whereas it was talking about a woman can, if they've got a child, they can hear their babies cry. If they're in a room and loads of babies are crying, a woman can pick out their baby's cry, whereas a man couldn't. But a man can do certain things which you wouldn't. And I just think it's interesting to look at it from that way, because then you're not saying this thing like, oh, all men are equal. And we should, there was a woman, I was having a conversation with someone recently about this idea of 50-50. You know, and when people keep saying, right, we need to do everything equally the same, and we need to have 50-50 because that means we are equal in the relationship. But I don't even think that exists, in terms of men and women are different. So therefore, you're going to have weaknesses in some areas and you're going to have strengths in other areas. And it's similar with this. Like, if I know that men are better at reading a map, then why am I going to try and do that if that's not my forte? That's not what I do. I'm not good at that. Whereas there's other areas which I might be better at, so I'll take over with that. And that's how sometimes in couples, when they're getting into this thing where they're saying, well, I do this and you do that, and I'm doing more than you, and you're only putting this amount in. You don't have to look at it in that way. You can look at it as being, what is my strengths? So I'm going to take charge of that. What is his strengths? So he can take charge of that. If someone's weak in one place, then you take over in that area. If someone's got strengths in one area, then let them take control. You know, it doesn't have to be like a tug of war. It should really be about who is better at the thing that they're doing. Let them do it. Let them shine in that area. I mean, in some cases, it's not as easy as that, because some men or some women will let one person just take over and that sort of thing. And that's where the issues happen. But yeah, this Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps is not because men are not interested in listening, but it's because they're going straight to the solution. They're going straight to, you know, get to the point already type thing. Why women can't read maps is because our brains are not designed to do for certain tasks. It goes different ways. Lots of people will say, like, men are more into more scientific, men are more good at certain things. It doesn't mean it's the complete rule and that there's no women that can do certain things and men can't do others. It's just giving an example based on the fact that they're a couple, based on the fact they've said they've sold over 20 million books throughout the world. it says it's a practical, humorous and easy to read book, and it will help you discover the truth about men and women. I enjoyed it. I found it funny, yes, some of the stuff, and very informative. So yeah, that's it. So the final book is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff in Love. This is again by another couple, Richard and Chris Carlson. So that Don't Sweat the Small Stuff was the first book, and that was not to do with love. It was just called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it was about life. You know, don't worry about life, don't get stressed. This one is about don't sweat the small stuff in love. It has 100 and how many chapters? I can't remember, I wrote it down. It's got over 100 chapters. I mean, this book has got, they're very small chapters. They're literally, some of them 2 or 3 pages, and you can see how thick the book is. So it's got, some of the chapters are respond with love, stop being so demanding, don't make your partner walk on eggshells, stay playful, know your value, be a low maintenance woman. There's loads of good stuff in there. It's one of the books where I would say the reason I've recommended this to lots of clients, but I've also used it sometimes in the counselling sessions, is because it's easy to read, it's easy to understand. You can put some of these things into place, and it would improve your relationship. So the thing about know your own value, everyone who's in a love relationship would treat their partner as 100% equal in every sense of the word, but we don't live in an ideal world. For a variety of reasons, there are some people who feel a sense of superiority. In some cases, they feel their role or contribution is more significant. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your relationship is to know your own value, to feel secure that you are special, unique and important. So it goes on a bit more. But if you walk into a relationship, I suppose, and you're confident and you know your value, you set your boundaries, you know who you are, then it doesn't matter what your partner is saying or doing, because you know yourself enough to know that if they are disrespectful towards you, you're not going to think, well, you know, I love him and he'll change, and or she'll, I'll make excuses for the person. What you would say is that, you know, this is what I'm being shown, this is the behaviour in front of me. As much as I love this person, or as much as this, we've got kids, or as much as this and that, I deserve more, I deserve better. This is my boundary, this is what I expect, and therefore this is not what I'm willing to tolerate. So there's more to it than that, but that's part of that one. Yeah, there's loads of stuff in there, and I think this is, yeah, to me this is just a little book that it helps millions of readers to reduce the stress in their everyday lives. They've had a few books, so they've had Don't Sweat the Small Stuff in Love. It says shows readers how to apply their philosophy to one of the most difficult aspects of life, which is a romantic relationship. So it acknowledges that, you know, relationships are probably, they're hard work, no one can say they're not, but some of these books that I've shared today, hopefully you'll find them interesting. You can go on here, as I've said, I made a book, 1 book a week, so I've done 52 books. This was in, I think, 2024 it might have been, or 2023. So check them out, and you'll see more of these books in more depth, but also some other books that I reviewed. So thank you to everyone that joined on the live stream. Feel free to leave your comments, share this with other people if you think they'll find it interesting, and I'll speak to you all soon. Have a great week. Bye.